Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Patriots Pulse podcast. I am here with my co-host Andrew. It's been a very long time. Maybe I'm overdoing it, but it
No,
has
it's
been a
been a while.
while. It's been a while. Lots and lots and lots and lots of Patriots news to talk about. So, what better day to talk about it while the DBs are working at the NFL Combine right now? Some crazy numbers have been put out. Lots of storylines with maybe a DB slash wide receiver that we can talk about too. But before we begin, Andrew, how have you been? What have you been up to during this short break?
Been good. Getting back into the swing of things with school. Um, yeah, but it's been a while. I mean, the last time we went live, I'm pretty sure was like live from the Senior Bowl. That was 3-4 weeks ago at
Was
this
that really
point.
that? It's been that long?
Yeah,
No, we did
I'm pretty
another one.
sure.
We did another one in between that.
Did we?
Yeah, I remember.
Not bad, but it's been a while
It's been a blur. It's been
nonetheless.
a blur.
Yeah, looking to get back into the swing of things here. Looking to build off of this one. But Carlos, how have you been?
Doing pretty good too. I mean, like you said, just getting back in the swing of things with school. It was a pretty dry period with Patriots news, but I tell everybody when I talk to them about like just the Twitter account, it's just like these couple months when the NFL Combine starts leading up to the draft is honestly like the most fun to cover the Patriots. And I'm not going to say cover the Patriots. I'm going to say keep up with Patriots news, because that's when rumors are coming out. We're going to add new players. It's going to be a lot of change, and people love that. I love it. So definitely like an exciting time right now in the NFL, and of course within the Patriots community. So with that being said, as I mentioned, the NFL Combine is going on right now in Indy. Wish I could have been there. I know you wish you could have been there as well. Um, so there's been a lot of storylines. The first thing that happened day one, Mike Vrabel held his press conference. I'm just going to ask a broad question. What did you think about it? Anything stand out to you? I know I have a lot of thoughts on it.
Um, yeah, I mean, it seemed a lot more. I'm trying to figure out how to word this. More structured with what he was saying. He had a plan in what he was saying. Um,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch the whole Mike Vrabel thing, so
Mhm.
I'm gonna have you start with that and just give your thoughts on it. I'm gonna add on.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he one of the things that stood out to me was his stance on free agency. He said that he hopes that they're going to be aggressive. He said they're going to target players that are, outstanding in the community and in the locker room, just high character guys, I guess you could call it. And he also spoke about how they're going to have a lot of plans set up, that it's going to be like, if option A doesn't work out, we're going to move to B, then we're going to move to C, then we're going to move to D. Obviously, at some point, there's like a limit to it, but it sounds like they're very well prepared about like for it. He did mention, I've actually been sitting on this in my drafts. He did mention in his NFL Network interview, I think it was yesterday with Daniel Jeremiah and Rich Eisen, that he said that he finds it very important to get the scouts excited as well, and for all of them to be on the same page to know what they're looking for in the players. Um, so it sounds like they're very well prepared. It sounds like Mike Vrabel's very excited. He even said this is the highest he's had to pick as a head coach. Um, so it seems like he's just a kid having fun right now, and that once the real deal happens, then it's going to get serious, obviously, and it's serious right now. But like he's taking in the opportunity to rebuild this program and just get everybody on the same page and build it from the ground up.
Yeah, and it seems like he's kind of going full force into rebuilding the trenches. He's mentioned it several
Mhm.
times already this offseason. I'm pretty sure he mentioned it in the media scrum and the big press
Mhm.
conference that they held for him.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it seems like they're going all in on the trenches, whether that's through free agency. And this is and if they draft some guys in this draft class, this is definitely the class to do so. This class
Mhm.
has been regarded as one of the deeper classes for defensive linemen, and overall, like just offensive linemen in period. Like, there's not like that Joe Alt at the top of the draft. Maybe it's maybe Will Campbell's up there. I don't know if he's really up there like
Mhm.
Joe Alt was, but like they have a couple of those guys up top. But as you get into the later rounds, the quality like project tackles you can get there, the amount of offensive guards, interior linemen that you can get, like it's a really good class for that.
Yeah,
Really good class.
definitely. There's a lot of like, I guess the word I would use is like dart throws, but exciting dart throws. It's not going to be like I have to take a guy just to take a guy. It seems like there's a lot of guys that are kind of unknown or just a lot of projection based, and it's exciting to draft those guys. And obviously, there's a good chance that it doesn't work out, but nonetheless, it is an exciting draft class. Another thing that he spoke about, and you touched on it, is that protecting Drake May and supporting him. He was talking about how he talks very highly about Drake May. Obviously, he's not going to shut down stuff about Drake. I am surprised that, I mean, it could have gone either way. You never know. He could have easily been a head coach that comes in and he's like, "Oh, it's going to be an open competition," or something like along those lines. That it's like, who knows? I see a lot of people on my timeline saying Joe Milton should be the starting QB. Who knows if he came in with that mindset? That could have been a possibility. So that's the only reason why I'm pointing out his support for Drake May. And on top of that, he said that Drake May is the franchise he's the future of the franchise, sorry, and that he wants to help him on the edges with receivers that can go up and have like a big catch radius, and so he doesn't have to place the ball perfectly every time, and just support him and help him grow. So, who would you say, whenever you think of that? Because I know who comes to mind. Whenever you think of that, who comes to mind immediately when he says stuff like that? That he wants to give him weapons like that.
When he wants to give him weapons, like receiving weapons, or
Yeah,
AJ Brown. I mean, every
AJ
single
Brown.
like time he's described a receiver that he wants, it's AJ Brown.
Yeah, and speaking of helping him, supporting him, just right now, while we're live, the Rams agreed to an extension with Alaric Jackson, 3-year, $57 million deal. So there goes
Hey,
some support for Drake May.
we're already on the topic of trenches, so why don't we extend on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Alaric Jackson and Trey Smith. Has he officially been tagged yet? Or
I would assume so. Like, I'm just like going off of the assumption that yeah, he's tagged.
yeah, either way, Trey Smith is getting tagged, or it's going to be a long-term extension. They'll probably tag him and then sign him to a long-term deal. So that's one like borderline blue chip offensive lineman off the board, and then another decent quality tackle that's off the board that could have been an option for the
Mm-hmm.
Patriots in free agency, but now they're kind of just down to what is it like Patrick McCarry, Ronnie Stanley if he even hits the open
Yeah, I don't
market.
think Ronnie Stanley's hitting, but yeah,
Um,
Cam
I don't
Robinson.
care for Cam Robinson to be honest, especially after that playoff performance. Like the talent's dwindling down. So
Yeah.
now comes a conversation of how much do you want to invest high draft capital in the offensive line? Like say Travis Hunter falls to 4. Are you picking like are they sitting there like are we picking the guy that is going to that's just like pure talent, like on a pure
Mhm.
talent level? Like do we pick Travis Hunter, or are we going to gear towards a need that we've had for years now?
I mean, it sucks because honestly, it's not the class for them to fix that need. Um, I would say the only, and if we want to go out like based off the timeline of events, and we're still like tying in the Mike Vrabel press conference, he did like that scrum with the local beat writers afterward. He told them like, yeah, like if there's a good offer for number 4, like they're gonna take it. And obviously, he's not gonna say like, oh, we're not looking at anything, but considering like let's say Travis Hunter isn't there, it is that personally I see it as the doomsday scenario of Shador Sanders making it to number 4, because I don't think that anyone's going to trade up. That's my personal opinion. I don't want to get too much into it unless you want to, but I don't think anyone's going to trade up if he makes it to number 4. So that's why it's like they're going to kind of be stuck, in my opinion. If that happens, do you have any thoughts on that really quick?
Well, I just think the only two teams like that have a possibility of wanting to trade up, I would say, is the Saints and the
Mhm.
Raiders. Saints at 9, Raiders at 6.
Mhm.
But I mean, the only way you can really get the Raiders to the only way the Raiders trade up to 4 for Shadur is if they hear that the Jets are trying to jump them at 5. or
Mhm.
for some reason the Jets call the Pats, and the
Yeah.
Pats call them like, "Oh, we got this offer from the Jets. Why don't you beat them out?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and
I
then if
yeah.
if the Saints want to move up, you're already going 5 spots back to 9, and at that point, it's like, are you really getting a guy that you really want
Mhm.
at that point? Like
Yeah.
maybe Jalen Walker's there, or a guy like that. But do you want Jalen Walker? I would like Jalen Walker, but do you want Jalen Walker more than you want a Will Campbell or a Mason
Mhm.
Graham? Like, is it worth losing out on one of those two guys just for an extra second round pick, third round
Yeah.
pick?
Yeah. No, I agree. Like and I completely agree with what you're saying. My form of thinking has also been, and you kind of touched on it, like why would a team trade up? The Jaguars aren't going to take a quarterback. Like if we were the Jaguars, for example, that would make more sense for teams like the Saints. You could throw in, I guess you could throw in the Cowboys in there. Just teams that like QB needy teams. It would make more sense if we were at number 5 because the Raiders are following that pick, and obviously they want a quarterback. So why would teams be, unless like how you said, unless teams hear that like um unless someone like the Raiders hears that the Saints are trying to jump them um, through either trading with the Pats or with the Jaguars, there's no reason for them to trade up. Like the Patriots and Jaguars aren't going to take quarterbacks, so um, that's why I'm fearful of that situation happening. But tying it back into like the offensive tackles, at some point, it's like it might be too high to take a certain guy that you don't really love. Um, and if you're going to trade back, I mean, no one talks about Kelvin Banks anymore. I haven't said that name in months. um, it's just like one of those things that it's like, okay, if you trade back, what if you trade back? And I don't see them doing this. I'm just saying hypothetically, what if they trade back all the way to like the teens, and then it's like, okay, now Kevin Banks is in a discussion, or maybe Will Campbell by that time in the draft process, maybe he is going to be like a teens pick. Um, but it's just one of those tough things that it's not the class for it. I think their best bet. People keep mocking him there. I don't know how realistic it is, but Ariante Ursary being at the top of the second, that seems like
Yeah,
everyone's favorite thing to mock and just talk about.
it's my
Obviously, I
favorite
would
thing.
like it. Yeah, like I would love it, but at the same time, it's like things have to fall in place. Um,
Yeah,
and you just have to hope that it happens like that. It's better to like have it controlled through like once free agency starts, it's better to have that control. And like how Mike Vrabel's talked about it, like they want to try to get free agents like, you know, like hit a home run in free agency and then kind of have more flexibility come draft time. Um, but like we talked about, it's dwindling down in free agency. So that's why we're talking more about tackles now in the draft, because they need to address it somehow, and they keep talking about that they're going to address it. So it's going to be one way or the other. I don't. There's literally never a trade market for tackles. So I don't want people to talk about that, and I don't want to sound like an a-hole, but like it's true. Like there's no need to talk about trading for tackles because that's never going to happen unless it's like a Trent
yeah.
Williams situation that they didn't diagnose him with cancer. Like that's such a unique situation that would probably never happen in the next 50 years.
And the way you get those franchise left tackles that are going to protect your quarterback for 10 or something years is you draft them. They don't hit the
Mhm,
open market. You can't trade for them. Like, you have to draft them.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
you can draft a temporary replacement. Um, like, maybe they sign Patrick McCarry and they maybe come summer, they're like, okay, Leonard Robinson's really working out. It's just hypothetical.
Mhm,
Leonard Robinson's working out. We'll put him at left guard. And they found someone in the draft for right tackle or something. And they'll
mhm.
probably be like, okay, Macari, just be the plug in left tackle for now, and we'll draft one in the future.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, with a top 5 pick, you you should you should draft the guy that you think is going to give you the most value and like just the most value on the field over the next 10 something years as you think. Like you
Mhm.
shouldn't be drafting need over how much is that player going to impact your team for the next decade.
Yeah.
And maybe that is Will Campbell for the Patriots. But even if they don't take Will Campbell up there. Like you're still looking at them maybe trading in the first round, like we talked about. Like it's a really tough situation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
for
will
sure.
say,
And yeah,
it
go
was
ahead.
mentioned for those who have not checked out Mass Live's latest article. Was it written by? It was Mark Daniels and
Mark
Karen?
Daniels, Karen, and Chris Mason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend you guys check out that article. A lot of great pieces that we'll be going over some of those nuggets in this show. But one of them was the Patriots' view, according to sources throughout the combine right now. The Patriots view Will Campbell as a tackle regardless of
Hmm.
his arm measurables. I mean, unless they come in at like 32 inches or below. It's like,
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, then there's a
like
red
building off
flag.
of that.
But
Yeah,
like,
building off of that, Greg Bedard spoke about it today, or yesterday on his podcast. And I put it out there. People didn't seem to care. That Will Campbell measured his arms last April, and it came in at 32 and 7/8, and the threshold is 33. So it's
yeah.
gonna be. I mean, I don't think
I
that
mean,
one little. I don't think it should affect him being a tackle, but
even like a quarter of an inch. Like, there's people that know a lot more about football than I do that have concerns about the arm length thing
mhm,
with Will Campbell. But like, how big of a deal is it for a guy? For a guy who's explosive and has the lateral agility that Will Campbell has, how like how crucial and important is it that he's a quarter of an inch short
mhm.
for the threshold or something like that?
I
But
mean,
if
yeah,
it's 32 and 7 it's not even a quarter. But like obviously you want to get your hands on the guy first, but like for a guy who can make up so much like so much space with his lateral agility, it's like how much does that hurt him?
yeah. I mean, like that seems to be like the only knock. I know Brian in the chat is saying it's not just his arm length, um,
Yeah,
that it's also like just him as like his play, his productivity. But what I hear the most that the knock on him is the arm length. Um, so just the fact that they view him as a tackle despite his arm length, that should tell you that he will be in play at number 4, in my opinion. Um, that's like the only takeaway I would have right now, just because um, he hasn't measured in fully, and like we're gonna get that on Sunday, I believe. So um, I don't want to make any assumptions. Like I said, the only takeaway I'll have from that little tidbit about them liking him as or viewing him as a tackle is that he's in play at number 4. That's like the only way I could really view it. If you would you want to move on really quick, or um, any other thoughts on that?
sorry, you cut out like the last couple minutes.
I
What was
said,
that?
do you have any more thoughts on it, or do you want to move on?
Um, I mean, just like kind of pivoting towards Mason Graham a little bit. I know
Mhm.
people have concerns about him, but I think the Devon Godshaw trade request that the Patriots have um,
Granted.
paid for him, I think that kind of reinforces the. Oh, is everything good?
Yeah, you cut out, but you're back.
All right. Well, I think the Devon Godshaw trade request kind of reinforces the idea that Mason Graham is a real option at number
Mhm.
4, and I think he fits the Mike Vrabel system well, and definitely if you pair him with Christian Barmore, you sound like Milton Williams at free agency, which again, going back to the Mass Live thing, Patriots seem to be really high on Milton Williams. At this point, you want to just switch gears towards that Mass Live article. I mean, they got a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah, honestly, the next thing I was going to talk about was something from that article, or ties into that article. So yeah, we could.
What was that?
Am I cutting out?
You're good now. You're good.
No, I said the next thing I did want to talk about was like ties into the article. So yeah, we could definitely move on to it.
Yeah.
So did you have what were your thoughts from that article? What did you want to, what's the first, because there's so
Um,
much, like what's the first thing you want to dissect?
There's way too many options.
Here, I'll go
Honestly,
with the
I'll
one I
start
was
with I'll
thinking.
start
Oh
with
wait, no, go ahead.
probably one of the most fun ones is Patriots view Travis Hunter as not only the best cornerback in the draft class, but also the best receiver in the draft class. And Mike Vrabel also went on, was it on the NFL Network
Mhm.
broadcast he went on when he said that
Yeah,
him and Travis Hunter were kind of going back and forth at the end of their meeting, like about like Mike Vrabel told him, "Hey, you're not the only guy that has played both sides of the league before," and then they
yeah,
both kind of went back and forth, laughing at each other. Like,
yeah. I,
seems like they
dude,
got a
I'm
great
so
connection
excited.
already.
I'm so excited. I really, dude. If he, I know Phil Perry. I put it out yesterday. Phil Perry had that report that many evaluators around the combine see the scenario of it being Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, Shador Sanders going top three, and then Travis Hunter being there at four. Today, and this is how it always goes for those of you that like don't keep up with it too much. It always goes like this every combine. There's a report coming out the day before, the next day something conflicts it. That's like how it always is. Yesterday, the report came out that the Patriots weren't going to be in on T. Higgins, according to Chad Graff. Today comes out the report that, well, Giardi puts out the report, and I think someone else put out the report that the Patriots are going to be in on T. Higgins if he, or actually, it was the Mass Live article that they said he would be an option for them if he makes it to free agency. So this is how it always goes. It's kind of tough to keep track of, but at the same time, the reason I'm saying this is because if Travis Hunter is there at four, I will literally. I've never been like truly mad at the Patriots. I think the only time I've really been really mad is it's like some of the games last year when like Gerard Mayo would make bad decisions or just I don't know. I don't want to get into it,
When they
but
re-signed Miles Bryant.
no, you know what? No, but I was gonna say I will genuinely be livid if Travis Hunter is there at four and they do not take him.
I would be pretty upset as well.
He is. I've been following him since he was in high school. He is legitimately like a football player. People always talk about like ignore the measurables, ignore this, like just draft football players. And then when it comes to the draft, they're using those other things, the measurables and all this and that, as the knock on that prospect. He is a football player. He was the best football player in the country last year, and people voted for him. You know what I mean? It's not like he just like named himself that. Um, if you want, I said this yesterday too. Mike Vrabel always kept talking about galvanizing the fans, galvanizing the organization. If you want to galvanize this organization and put fans in seats, you will draft Travis Hunter if he is there at four. There's no, there's like no doubt that that should happen. So I would literally be over the moon if they take him at four, and I would be livid if they pass on him at four. Um, if
I mean,
he's
did you
not there
see
at four, it's
the
like the scrum.
Yeah, did you see the scrum yesterday for
Yeah,
him? I mean, poor Elijah
yeah,
Hoosie. Is that how you
yeah.
pronounce his last name? I
Huzzy or
know
Huzzy. Yeah,
Brian
yeah,
Hines likes to call him the Huz. But Elijah Hoosie like had one reporter over there, and then Travis Hunter was hogging all the others.
yeah.
I was watching Patriots Unfiltered. It might have been yesterday, I believe,
Mhm.
and Mike Dussault was in that media scrum. I'm pretty sure, and I mean, he said that Hunter carried himself really well. He was very professional. It's like that's just that. Those are the kind of guys you want on your roster, like talent
Mhm.
aside.
No, exactly, and especially like that's a Vrabel guy. Like that's literally someone that Vrabel keeps using as an example of who he wants in the locker room. Um, he's like I said, he's been in the spotlight since high school, and he's performed at every single level from high school to HBCU to like the top of like the national media. You know what I mean? Like, and now it's like the NFL. I see no way that he's going to not make it in the NFL. In all honesty, maybe not. He's not going to be a superstar, but I genuinely, that's
Yeah.
my bold take that he's going to be an NFL player, whether it's a superstar or just like a guy that's going to have a 10, 12-year career. He's going to make it in the NFL, in my opinion. Um, and if the Patriots can get someone like that and pair him up with, I said this yesterday, if you want to pair up your best offensive player, your like foundational rookie, with an amazing wide receiver, draft Travis Hunter. If you want to pair up your all pro second year cornerback with an amazing player on the other side of him, draft Travis Hunter. Like it's literally either one.
Like
If
no,
you want
no
to
matter
build
what side he
offense,
plays, it's a
yeah,
win-win.
Yeah,
I mean, like just the
that's the best
talent
way to
he
put it.
brings alone, like you
Hmm.
can do so much with him.
Yeah.
And like I think as we get closer to the draft and as more discourse happens throughout the league and more, oh, the Giants are probably going to do this, the Browns are probably going to do this, Travis Hunter's going to go here. Like I think it'll be really interesting to kind of see and try and figure out how the Patriots view Travis Hunter. Do they view him more as a receiver? Do they view him more as a cornerback? And I think one of the ways we'll be able to kind of tell is what they do in free agency. Like
Hmm.
if they go out and sign like Carlton Davis in free
Hmm.
agency to like a multi-year
That's
deal,
true.
you're kind of looking at that like, all right, like if this dude falls, he might be catching
Yeah.
like 80 something passes from Drake May next season.
Yeah, that is true. I didn't think about it like that. That is true. I do think that it was kind of interesting. We can I know we said we're going to talk about the Mass Live article, but I do want to touch a little bit on the Elliot Wolf press conference. I honestly didn't think there was much from it other than him just holding himself accountable for what happened last year. But he did say that for Travis Hunter in particular, he said that he's such a unique prospect that he said that there is a scenario that he sees him playing both sides in the NFL. So if your de facto GM is saying something like that, then I'm assuming that if they draft him, they have that belief that he can play both sides. And he did also say that Matt Groh in particular made two separate scouting profiles on Travis Hunter as a wide receiver and a cornerback. Like that's not normal. That's not normal, and that just tells me that like he has that chance of like if he goes to the Patriots, they're gonna do something that allows him to play and make an impact on both sides of the ball, whether it's for 50% of the snaps on defense, 100% on offense. I don't know, something. I trust that they're gonna figure it out. Really quick, I do want to say too, I see too many people saying, "Oh, if they get him, they're gonna ruin him." Like this organization, dude, it's a new regime. It's a new like it's Mike Vrabel's
Yeah.
first year being the coach. How are you going to make assumptions and tell me, oh, they're like there's it's so common for them to ruin? Like you don't know, I don't know, nobody knows.
They almost completely overhauled the coaching staff.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
if there's a player development issue, I think it's a mix between player development and also a player identification issue.
hmm
But
hmm
if there was a player development issue, this is a whole new regime.
hmm
Like
yeah, yeah,
I mean, they could be terrible. We don't know. We don't know yet. But like
hmm
they could also they will more than likely be better than what we've seen
yeah,
last
yeah,
season, especially.
yeah,
And another thing with Travis Hunter, I really like how he said when he was taking questions from reporters in that huge media scrum, he said that he's willing to do
the team that drafts him. Yeah.
whatever
Hmm.
organization the organization that drafts him wants him to do, whether it's
Hmm.
playing on this side, playing on that side, whether it's both. And yeah, and I like the way Elliot Wolf kind of described it. He was like, I think he said he could major
Yeah.
in one thing and then minor on the other side. Like, I mean, I think he definitely has the talent to do it. Whether he can handle the workload is another question. I think there's a solid chance that he can. Because he could have the stamina, but it's the
Hmm.
fact that throughout the week, if you're playing cornerback, you gotta you gotta study your the guy that you're covering, your assignment. You
Hmm.
gotta study your assignment for that week. But then on the offensive side of the ball, you also have to know what the game plan is. You have to know what the overall strategy is and what your job is going to be on that side. So it's a lot,
Yeah.
but I think he could handle it. We'll see.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely hoping that he falls to 4, and we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, he's someone that, like you said, I think he can handle it. He's played at the highest level that he could play up to this point in his career. So I genuinely believe that he can. Like I said, he's going to be an NFL player for a long time. That's my belief. So I have no doubt that he's going to succeed in the NFL, and it's just a matter of him making it to the Patriots so I can root for him. But with that being said, we can move on quickly, or not quickly, but you had mentioned Mason Graham as a potential fit at number 4. The Patriots did meet with him formally at the combine, but you also spoke about Devon Godshaw being available. What do you think? about we could quickly touch on it, like a return, and like what could they do in order to get the best out of like his situation.
I mean, even if the value's not there, I still think you have to deal him
Hmm.
somewhere. Like it's it's only right after the years of hell that you've put him through. Um, so I mean, I don't think they get much in return. What is he, 30 at this point?
Yeah,
30
yeah.
years old. He's not going to play all three downs. Like sixth, seventh.
Hmm.
I'd be
Yeah,
very
it's gonna be a
happy.
day 3 pick. Yeah,
I'd be very, very happy with a fifth. Imagine they send him away for a fifth and they call hands up. Hey, how much you want for Landry? Oh, a fifth. All right, we'll send you this one we just got.
that would literally be the smart thing to do, honestly. Like, or use the fit that they have right now, trade for Landry, and then immediately trade Gottschalk for a fifth. Like,
I'd rather they cut Landry because then you don't have to.
yeah, no, I agree
Then
with
the
that. Yeah,
Titans take
yeah,
on all that dead cap, and you don't
yeah.
have to pay him 20-something million dollars for the next 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with that. Like, someone actually who put out. I don't want to like mess it. Well, we'll get into it later. But yeah, like if they play the situation correctly, it can go well. I will say, and we touched on it many times. Like if they figure out something in free agency before the draft, then Mason Graham kind of becomes like a bigger question mark. That it's like maybe he won't go at number 4 to them. The reports have been that Milton Williams and Osa Digizua are going to be like the two top of the market names at the defensive tackle position. So I'm really interested to see how that goes, if they're going to like if they're willing to pay them. Mike Reese did make a very good point, and I haven't even thought about it like that. That are they going to be comfortable paying one of those two guys the same amount or even more than Christian Barmore? Because Christian Barmore is
Yeah.
supposed to be like their foundational defensive tackle, like their young guy. Are they willing to pay them more than they pay him? It kind of makes it like a bit of a weird situation, but at the same time, yes, it is understandable. But are they going to use his contract as like a, like a model of like, this is the top of our market, we can't go over it? It'll be interesting. I don't know
Yeah.
what they're going to do, but it is going to be telling what they do with any defensive tackle in free agency.
Well, I think a slightly cheaper option that can provide a lot of a lot of upside, especially working with Terrell Williams last season in
Mm-hmm.
Detroit. I really hope I'm not butchering the last name, but Levi on
Ozurike?
Uzurike.
Yeah,
Did I say that right?
I think so. Yeah, pretty close.
Hell yeah! All right. I think they could target him in free agency.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's a clear connection to like you said, Terrell Williams. He fits the scheme. Like, yeah, he would make sense. I do think Milton Williams is going to be like that, like number one choice. Maybe it's different on their board, but he just makes the most sense. And I think yeah, the Mass Live article, they did talk about how he is like the ideal scheme fit for them. So that should be one of their top targets if he makes it to free agency, which he most likely will.
I just worry about paying him like $23 million a year. Like I don't know.
I just think they have enough cap space that it's like you can make these mistakes and you can pay these guys that honestly wouldn't come here if it wasn't for the money. Like
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
they're not going to
It's
spend a
just
lot of like it's
how
they're not going to spend a lot. They can't spend up to the cap. Well, Elliot Wolf said that they're going to be smart and whatever. I forgot how he worded it, but it didn't make me sound too confident. But it's, I mean, a lot of people have been talking about it. Like Phil Perry spoke about it, that the free agency class, people can't assume that it's just going to be like, oh, like $20 million signing here, $20 million signing there. Like, oh my gosh, like our team is like a whole new team. Like, I'm so excited. It's not going to be like that, and they have to spend it somewhere. So if they overpay for someone like Milton Williams, like you said, like 23 million a year, it's like they have to spend it somewhere.
and keep in mind, just talking about all the cap situations, they gotta save some money next season to extend Christian Gonzalez.
That's true.
That is gonna be a contract and a half.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna reset the cornerback market for sure.
I want to get to this point brought up by Brian in the Twitter chat.
Mhm.
Oh wait, nope, not that one, not that one. This one. I agree. I think they should come out of this class with a running back. This running back class is very deep. There's so many great options. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, you saw some of the guys at the Senior Bowl who are projected day three, just as I
Yeah.
did. Like, they looked like quality NFL players. Like, they're going to be quality NFL
It's
players.
gonna be
And
a
there's
generational
so
running back class.
it is like, I mean, people say that about like every position, every year,
No, it
but
literally is.
yeah, no, it is though. Yeah, but like, there's such a diverse like amount and types of running backs you
Mhm,
can pick from in this draft class on any day of the draft, or not
mhm.
round one, like day two
Yeah,
and day
no,
three.
Ashton Genty
Um,
round one, like, no, it's true.
well, I mean, like you can get so many different types of running backs, like
No,
wherever
it's
you
true.
want,
Ashton Genty. If
but
you want to take
not
Caleb
round. Well,
Johnson, if you want to take
yeah,
Caleb Johnson round one, I would not be surprised if someone does that.
yeah, or Amari and Hampton.
I'm not.
Well,
Personally.
you live in your own world.
Personally.
Well, yeah, I definitely think day three, or maybe even late day two, coming out of this
Mhm,
class, they should have a running back. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson, as good as I think he will be running the ball efficiently this season, I think he fits the Josh McDaniels offense a bit better. Um,
You cut off.
which was a great signing last year, but after that, Michael Hasty is a free agent. It's
Mhm.
Terrell Williams,
All right. I think.
Terrell Jennings.
Oh
So
yeah.
it's like you need some more depth there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I think about, and yeah, now that we're getting closer to it, I'm kind of changing my opinion, but I've kind of just been under the assumption, or like the opinion, I guess, that they signed these guys. It's a not I don't want to say big money contracts, but they signed Antonio Gibson to I think it was 3-year deal. And then Ramondre Stevenson, they just extended him. I personally was coming into the draft thinking like there's no reason they should draft the running back unless it's like a UDFA or someone in like the seventh round. Um, but yes, I wouldn't be opposed to them taking one. I'm still kind of under you know, the impression that maybe they shouldn't just because they have 2 guys under contract and I feel like they can allocate those draft picks to other positions that they kind of need someone better cuz um who was it? Phil Perry said that Demario Douglas and Ramondre Stevenson, but we're going to focus on Stevenson, has a lot of fans around the NFL, and they love the way he plays, and they think that it was like the product of the offensive line and the play calling for his lack of production last year. And on top of that, Mike Vrabel even said it that like the offensive line didn't do Stevenson any favors last season. So I'm still on the Stevenson train that I think that he's a good back and they should trust him. But like how we talked about, if it's going to be this good of a draft class and the Patriots have an opportunity to take someone that would typically go early day 3 or early day 2 but take them early day 3, then yeah, like obviously I wouldn't be opposed to it. It's just one of those draft classes that guys are going to get pushed down because of how good the class is.
Yeah, completely agree. So
Um,
anything else you want to get to? Um,
I did want to quickly talk about in the Mass Live article, they also did say that the Patriots are planning, like just echoing what Mike Vrabel said, that they are planning to hit free agency very hard. And the guys that they have serious interest in are Ronnie Stanley, Patrick McCarry, Milton Williams, who we spoke about, and then Harold Landry, who we also touched base on a little bit. And Harold Landry, obviously, if he's cut rather than having to trade for him. What do you think about them adding? We'll just talk about Macari, or we kind of did talk about Macari a little bit. We could just expand on it like a little more if you want. And Harold Landry, what do you think that does for them in terms of like the way they're building the roster?
like signing both of them,
You could
or
touch
just
like
like
talk about either one or yeah.
either one. Well, I mean, I think it just goes back to them trying to rebuild the trenches as fast as they can. I think that's really what they're trying to focus on heading into next season because that's where the game of football starts. It's in the trenches, and
Mhm.
if you have glaring weak spots in those areas, you're not going to win football games. I mean, we
Yeah.
saw that last season. Patriots couldn't stop the run. They couldn't generate any type of pass rush. They couldn't penetrate the pocket on a consistent basis, and they got beat hard on defense. That was the worst
Mhm.
defensive performance we've seen from a Patriots defense in a long time, a
Mhm.
long time. And then
Yeah.
on the other side of the ball, you're trying to do all this stuff with Drake May, but he doesn't have. You guys don't have the time to do that, to do what you want to do with him. He doesn't have time to let a play kind of set,
Develop.
develop out
Mhm.
all the time. Like it's frustrating to watch on the sidelines. It's frustrating to watch as an owner. It's frustrating to watch as a fan. And they really have to start with that. I'm completely good with them just going crazy on the trenches this offseason. And then
Mhm.
have some money left over next season. Go get that receiver.
Yeah.
Go get that last piece that you need on defense.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And like speaking of um addressing the trenches and stuff, the Chiefs just announced, like we were talking about at the start of the episode, the Chiefs just announced that they franchise tagged Trey Smith. So that offensive line free agency class is dwindling down, like we've been talking about. I think Patrick McCarry is ideal. Even Brian said it. Like, yeah, he can play legitimately all five spots. Maybe he's not like the most reliable at tackle, for example, but if you get that versatility with one guy, yeah, you're going to sign him, especially a team that needs offensive linemen. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the offensive side of the trenches. But I think defensive, they have a lot of opportunities to address it. I think that they're going to, whether it's Harold Landry drafting an edge rusher day 2, day 3, um, or just I think they have a lot of options this offseason with
Yeah.
the defensive side of the ball. Offensive side is when it's going to get kind of murky. But anything else you want to touch on before I think we can wrap up soon, right?
What's that?
I think we can wrap up soon, right? I think we've touched base on pretty much everything.
Yeah. Um, I think they can do a lot for the defense this offseason. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, being unable to generate pass rush consistently, like they didn't, like not being able to do that, like what happened last season, that puts more stress on your corners, and obviously they're gonna play worse
Mhm.
because you're gonna give the receivers so much more time to improv and get open. And
Yeah.
um, I think they can do a lot for the defense. Like you said, the defensive line, I think they can completely revamp their defensive line this offseason. I don't think it's crazy to say that. Like you could sign Milton Williams, for example. If Christian Barmore comes back, you have Milton Williams and Christian Barmore next to each other. You sign or trade for Harold Landry, and then you draft an edge rusher on day 2. You still got Keon White. You still got Anthony Jennings um, to set that edge in the run game on the left side of the defense, and then you can throw money at a veteran corner for several years, and
Mhm.
you can draft a linebacker or two, and all of a sudden, like there's like a hole or two left that you need to fill.
Yeah.
And I do think
Yeah.
an underrated need for the defense this offseason is a true free safety. Like if you want to go out and sign Javon Holland in free agency, be my guest. All for
Yeah.
that. Like no one has been able to properly fill the void left by Devin McCourty on that
Mhm.
defense.
Yeah. Even Mike Vrabel said it. He said there's only a few exceptions on the roster that they wouldn't consider trading, and I personally I wouldn't put Kyle Duggar or Jabril Peppers in that category. I think that they are expendable if they can address like the free safety need. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think linebacker is going to be very important too. I'm like honestly, the linebacker room is what I'm kind of excited to see. Um, am I frozen?
Now you're
Can
good,
y'all
man.
hear
You're
me?
good.
Okay. um, I was gonna say, I think the linebacker room is gonna be one of the more exciting position groups that they can add to, just because it's gonna be a new look linebacker room. Now we're gonna see guys that are faster, that have more sideline to sideline speed, like these smaller linebackers that are lighter, that fly across the field. So I'm really excited to see what they do with that. I think that that's gonna be one of the most glaring changes for the defense. Come August, and I I do think also that the cornerback position in free agency is something that's going to be interesting to watch. I I've said it since before the season even ended. I would love Paulson Adebo on this team. I think that he would be a really cool player to add. Um, so we'll see what they do with that. There's going to be a lot of change. Mike Vrabel keeps saying it that the roster is not going to be the same from now to the start of August. I'm interested to see. Obviously, everyone's interested to see the moves they're going to make, but I do think that there's going to be a couple things that happen from now leading up to the draft that it's like, damn, like I didn't expect that, but I'm excited now. That's just
Yeah.
the vibe I get from this team. So yeah, I think, lots more to come out from the combine in the next couple days. But as of right now, we've been blessed as Patriots fans to receive so much news and just excitement coming out of the combine.
Yeah. And before we kind of end this, I know you mentioned the linebacker group. Who's your like linebacker crush? Because I honestly have a couple in
From
like
the
day
draft
two of the
class.
draft.
Oh yeah. From the draft class, it's
Carlos, you
definitely.
good? Oh,
Can you not hear me?
all right.
Is it working
We
now?
might have lost Carlos. I'm gonna get into my linebacker crush of this draft. Day two, Carlos.
Yeah, can you hear me now or no? What?
All right.